Welcome to Trending Unpacked, a show that dives into what the world's been searching for and why it matters. Today, we're embarking on a journey back to the mid-2000s. But here's the thing. It's a journey that somehow lands us smack dab in the middle of pop culture right now, in 2025. Our deep dive topic, it's none other than the iconic, truly inescapable, that whole purple and pink phenomenon, Hannah Montana. Seriously, for so many of us, just hearing that name, it probably brings back like an instant flash of a blonde wig, right? And those super catchy pop songs, maybe even that bittersweet feeling of childhood nostalgia. Do you remember the absolute whirlwind that show was? It wasn't just a show, was it? It felt like the childhood staple, kind of a cornerstone for a whole generation. I felt like everyone, everywhere, was talking about it.
Oh, absolutely. Iconic really is the perfect word. Hannah Montana wasn't just a show. It was, the definitive Disney Channel series for literally millions. It ran from 2006 to 2011. And it starred, then unknown Miley Cyrus, didn't it? In a role that just catapulted her to global superstardom. She was Miley Stewart, this seemingly average teenager from Tennessee, but she had this secret alter ego, the mega pop star Hannah Montana. And from the second it debuted, its success was, staggering, just huge. We're talking 4 incredibly popular seasons. It spawned a chart-topping movie, Hannah Montana the movie, right? And this incredible string of platinum-selling albums, multiple platinum albums, its initial reach, its commercial footprint, it was immense. It really cemented its place as one of the most successful teen shows of the 2000s. And even then, you kind of sensed it had this lasting power that honestly very few shows ever achieve. It wasn't just watched. People sort of lived it.
Exactly. And that's precisely why we're talking about it today. Our mission here, it isn't just to, reminisce about a beloved show, which, hey, that would be fun on its own. It's really to unpack why Hannah Montana isn't just a fond memory for millions. Why is it profoundly trending right now in 2025? What does this, totally unexpected resurgence, more than a decade after it ended, tell us about pop culture cycles? And what does it reveal about, celebrity itself in our super connected world? And maybe, just maybe, what does it say about us, about the comfort and connection we're kind of actively seeking in stuff from our shared past? It's truly fascinating, isn't it, to see a show that felt like it belonged to such a specific time making this powerful, undeniable comeback now, almost like it never really went away. So, okay, let's dive right in. Let's get to the heart of what made the show such a powerhouse from the very start, that ingenious dual identity thing. At its core, Hannah Montana had this concept right, deceptively simple, but actually brilliant. We saw Miley Stewart dealing with all the super relatable stuff, the ups and downs of just being a normal teenager during the day.
School, those awkward crushes, navigating friendships, the family drama, which was always endearing with her dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, who was also iconic in his own right, and her goofy brother, Jackson. But then, almost like magic, she slips on that famous blonde wig.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, she transforms into Hannah Montana. Global pop sensation, sold-out concerts, adored by millions, living this life of just incredible glamour, private jets, endless sparkle, this constant push and pull, this best of both worlds. That was the hook, wasn't it? The magnetic thing that pulled everyone in. It wasn't just plot, it was the engine.
You're absolutely right. It was the engine. And its appeal, especially hitting that tween audience, that was incredibly profound. This dual identity concept, it tapped right into these, universal adolescent desires, didn't it? On one hand, you had this deep need for normalcy, fitting in, having a regular life, avoiding the spotlight. Every kid wants to feel like they belong, have those everyday moments. But at the same time, there was this powerful, almost primal wish for something extraordinary. That fantasy of having hidden talents, a secret, glamorous life where you could be fearless and talented and everyone loved you. Hannah Montana literally embodied both sides of that coin. Viewers could dream about that amazing, famous life, but still connect super closely with Miley's everyday problems. It was like the ultimate wish fulfillment, but you still felt grounded. And, psychologically speaking, this mirrored that intense internal identity exploration that tweens and teens go through. It's just inherent to that age. Adolescence is all about trying on different personas, right? Experimenting with who you are, figuring out where you fit, balancing your public self, school you, friend you with your private self, who you are alone. Hannah Montana didn't just reflect this. She became this, literal, tangible representation of it. Miley Stewart was the relatable one, sometimes awkward, the girl next door who just wanted to be normal. She grounded the show, made it accessible. Then Hannah Montana, she was the aspiration. Cool, confident, celebrated pop star, living basically every young person's dream. The genius was how the show mixed those really down-to-earth problems like dealing with a mean girl or a first crush or fighting with your brother with Hannah's aspirational life. Fame, hit songs, that very distinct fashion. That duality made the character both incredibly easy to relate to and a huge source of wish fulfillment. You saw your own struggles in Miley, but dreamed of being unstoppable like Hannah. It kind of normalized the idea that young people could have these really complex inner lives and big dreams beyond what you just saw on the surface.
And what's so interesting is how that whole concept just jumped off the screen, didn't it? It wasn't just a plot point anymore. It became a cultural catchphrase, the best of both worlds. It wasn't just the title of that super popular theme song. It was an idea, a kind of shorthand that you heard everywhere. Playgrounds, living rooms. Definitely in my own head as a kid. I bet so many of you listening remember belting out the best of both worlds and probably, just like me, spent hours imagining what your secret identity would be. You know, what hidden talent would you unleash? When the wig went on, or the cape, or whatever it was, it made the fantasy feel so close, so possible. It really blurred those lines for a whole generation.
Definitely. And the show's cultural impact, really fueled by that core idea, it went way beyond just viewer numbers. Let's talk about the music for a second. It was a genuine phenomenon on its own. We're talking platinum-selling albums, songs like The Best of Both Worlds, Nobody's Perfect. They were everywhere, absolutely ubiquitous. These weren't just tunes from a TV show, they were actual charting pop hits. The music became its own thing, the standalone success, but it was still so tied into the show's story. Fans connected with Hannah Montana songs like they were real pop hits, because, well, they were. They charted on the Billboard Hot 100, sold millions, that blend of pop rock with a bit of country. It became really characteristic of that whole era. Then you look at the merchandise, wow, the sheer volume, the variety of Hannah Montana stuff was just staggering. It wasn't just a few dolls here and there. It was literally everything. Clothing lines, lunchboxes, school supplies, video games, karaoke machines, bedroom decor. Disney basically turned the show into an entire lifestyle brand that young fans could and did buy into completely. That showed this incredibly deep fan engagement. Hannah Montana wasn't just a character. It was a fully realized, multi-platform brand. It was this whole universe kids could live in, turning their bedrooms into, like, mini concert stages. That level of commercial success was pretty unprecedented for a Disney Channel show at the time. And remember, the Best of Both Worlds tour back in 2007-2008.
Oh my gosh, yes. The tickets.
Exactly. It wasn't just sold out. It caused these intense ticket scalping controversies. Tickets were going for thousands of dollars. That's the kind of demand you see for, like, the biggest global music acts, not usually a TV characters concert.
Yeah.
It really proved Hannah Montana had become this real-life pop icon. And we can't forget the concert films either, like Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus. Best of Both Worlds concert and Hannah Montana, the movie. These weren't just, extra content. They actively blurred the lines between fiction and reality, between Miley Stewart and Hannah Montana, especially for young fans. They extended the whole experience beyond just watching TV, gave kids the thrill of seeing Hannah perform live in a movie theater or watching Miley's origin story on the big screen. It made the fantasy feel incredibly immersive, really tangible. And aesthetically, Hannah Montana's style, that playful mix of pop stars, sparkle, bright colors, accessories, but still kind of casual, it definitely influenced young viewers. Kids everywhere were adopting the bright colors, the layered tops, the cowboy boots sometimes. But even beyond fashion, those memorable moments from the show, the iconic lines like sweet niblets or just Miley's facial expressions, they became early internet memes, which really highlights how much influence it had on, like, nascent online culture way before platforms like TikTok were even a thing. It shows the show resonated digitally right from the start. For so many people in Gen Z and even younger millennials, Hannah Montana wasn't just a show they watched. It was a foundational shared experience, a cultural touchstone of their formative years. It gave them a common language, shared jokes, this sense of collective memory. It really defined a big part of their childhoods, like a weekly ritual many looked forward to.
Okay, so we totally get why it hit so hard back then, how it became this, like, undeniable cultural force and a defining memory. But here's the kicker, right? This isn't just about remembering a great show. Hannah Montana is blowing up online right now. In 2025, it's a real trend, not just some faint nostalgic whisper. So what on earth is driving that? More than a decade after the show actually ended. It's honestly one of the most exciting and, maybe unexpected things we've seen trending in a while.
It genuinely is fascinating. And there are actually several things coming together, kind of amplifying each other. First, and maybe the biggest driver, is just the sheer power of TikTok. That platform, with its short-form video format, it's just perfectly built for viral content, and it has become a total hotbed for Hannah Montana stuff. You see this absolute flood of TikTok edits using old scenes, funny reaction shots, iconic lines being lip-synced or repurposed, even really detailed character analyses. And of course, endless videos sampling the best of both worlds. It's been remixed, sped up, slowed down, used as a soundtrack for people revealing their own kind of dual identities. These quick, super digestible clips, they allow for these rapid bursts of nostalgia and discovery. They're often exposing the show to younger audiences who might have missed it, or just reminding older fans why they loved it so much. The algorithm just keeps feeding the fire.
Right. It just takes on a life of its own there.
Exactly. And at the same time, you've got YouTube content creators playing a really significant role in this whole renaissance, too. We're seeing YouTubers doing these long rewatch commentaries, ranking episodes or outfits, reacting to classic moments, or even doing these deep dives into the show's themes. That kind of longer content, it doesn't just fuel nostalgia for the original fans, making them want to go back and watch full episodes. It also effectively reintroduces the show to new people who then maybe head over to Disney Plus to check it out. So both TikTok and YouTube work because they encourage these bite-sized, shareable moments that then lead to wider engagement. It's a format that allows for quick rediscovery, lots of collective commentary, and this strong feeling of a shared experience, even if you're just watching alone. It's very communal in a digital way.
Okay, so the platforms are definitely amplifying it. What else?
Well, another absolutely huge factor is Miley Cyrus herself. You really can't underestimate her role here. She's been incredibly active and I'd say quite strategic in driving this kind of artist-led nostalgia. Miley's referenced Hannah Montana a lot in recent interviews, often with this like knowing wink and a smile, joking about bringing her back, talking about her complex but now seemingly affectionate connection to the character. Like, remember her Used to Be Young campaign? Leading up to the Endless Summer Vacation album,
Yeah.
she leaned really heavily into reflecting on her childhood and past experiences, subtly, sometimes not so subtly, linking her past as Hannah to her current artistry, using old footage, reflective lyrics. It felt like a very deliberate choice to re-engage with that history.
That makes sense. She's owning it now.
Precisely. And all this referencing and reflecting from Miley, it has understandably fueled intense fan speculation. Social media is just buzzing with theories. Could there be a limited series reboot? Maybe an adult version of the show, exploring where Miley Hannah would be in her 30s. Some fans even dream up these Disney Channel multiverse crossovers.
I can see that.
And these aren't just, random fan wishes anymore. They gain real traction when you think about Disney Plus's overall strategy. Disney's been very deliberate with their nostalgic Disney Vault campaigns, right? Consistently highlighting iconic shows and movies from their back catalog. They're leveraging that powerful feeling of familiarity and comfort. They absolutely know the value of their IP. So Miley gets to lean into her past on her own terms, kind of reclaim her narrative, and Disney gets to re-engage this massive multi-generational audience. It's a pretty perfect symbiotic relationship, really.
It really is incredible just witnessing the sheer, undeniable power of nostalgia. How it drives pop culture today. It feels like it's more than just remembering something fondly or a quick trip down memory lane. It's about this deep desire to re-experience those feelings, to feel that comfort again, connect with what felt like a simpler time. For so many of us, I think revisiting Hannah Montana or other shows from back then brings back this powerful sense of security, like a cultural security blanket maybe. That just resonates really deeply in our, often pretty turbulent modern world. It's a beautiful, kind of dynamic way that old content finds this vibrant new life, new meaning, and even finds new audiences today. It's fascinating.
Absolutely. And expanding on that, Hannah Montana's lasting cultural significance, looking at it now in 2025, it really goes far beyond just the pop star wig and the catchy songs. Think about it. It was an early and incredibly prominent example of a teen star navigating truly massive fame. And in many ways, it kind of unknowingly foreshadowed the intense scrutiny, the complex public-private struggles that so many young celebrities face now, especially with social media amplifying everything. The show, okay, yes, in a family-friendly Disney way, but it did deeply explore that idea of persona versus authentic self on a grand scale. Long before Instagram and TikTok made those pressures almost unbearable for public figures, it gave us this window into what that kind of life might actually be like, the conflicts that pop up when your public image is so different from your private reality. It was actually quite prescient about the celebrity ecosystem that was evolving so fast. And furthermore, the show significantly shaped how we understood teenage identity, particularly the pressures and joys of self-discovery, which were then amplified by that unique celebrity context. It sort of normalized the idea that young people can have these incredibly complex inner lives, secret dreams, a deeper identity beyond what you just see. It showed that someone seemingly ordinary could harbor extraordinary ambitions and vice versa. It sparked conversations, maybe implicitly, about authenticity versus performance, the masks we wear, the struggle to find your true self when everyone's watching. For a generation coming of age as the internet was really taking off, these were incredibly relevant themes that the show actually tackled head on, even if wrapped in glitter.
That's so true. It wasn't just fluff.
Not at all. And then you have to talk about that truly symbiotic relationship between Miley Cyrus, the person, and Hannah Montana, the character, and how that's evolved over the years. Because for a long time, right, especially in the early 2010s, the public perception was very much that Miley was trying desperately to distance herself from Hannah, to shatter that squeaky clean Disney image.
But yeah, the bangers era definitely felt like a break.
Exactly. Her provocative performances, the shift into more experimental music and style, it felt like this deliberate, almost aggressive attempt to break free from that childhood mold. But what we've seen more recently is this really profound and, frankly, fascinating shift. The fact that she now actively jokes about bringing her back or reflects on her used-to-be-young phase with such maturity, even affection, that shows this deep engagement with her past, not a total rejection anymore. This acceptance, even celebration of her own history with the character is, in itself, a huge part of why Hannah Montana is trending again. It humanizes her journey as a performer, shows that her past is part of her present, not something to be just tossed aside or be ashamed of. It's a really powerful statement about growth and self-acceptance, I think.
That is such a profound observation. It really makes you think about other artists too, doesn't it? Who maybe try to shed their early work or persona only to later embrace it as just, well, part of their story, part of who they are. It really does humanize that journey. Shows not just growth, but this kind of cool self-acceptance that resonates with fans who grew up alongside them. Shows the past isn't a burden, it's like a foundation you build on. But beyond Miley's personal journey, does Hannah Montana's comeback fit into an even bigger pattern, something larger we're seeing online?
Oh, it absolutely does. And if you place Hannah Montana within this deeper, broader trend, you see it's clearly part of the internet's, well, obsession might be too strong a word, but deep affection for 2000s era comfort content. This isn't just about one show. It's this massive Y2K culture wave washing over music, fashion, TV. When we talk Y2K culture, we mean that distinct vibe from the late 90s, early 2000s, bright tech, playful, pop-punk clothes, maybe a pre-social media innocence.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The razor phone aesthetic.
Kind of. And we're seeing this nostalgia surge with other beloved shows from that time, like Lizzie McGuire, remember the Near reboot? High School Musical, which got that successful Disney Plus series. Wizards of Waverly Place is constantly memed and even has a sequel series coming. There's this clear generational yearning for content that just feels familiar, safe, and maybe, frankly, a bit less complicated than the reality we often navigate now. This widespread return to what we call comfort content, it really suggests it's serving as a powerful coping mechanism in today's world. I mean, think about it. In this rapidly changing, often overwhelming global landscape, digital saturation, the 24/7 news cycle, political divides, economic worries, revisiting content from what feels like a simpler era gives people this powerful sense of comfort. Stability. It's escapism, sure, partly, but it's also a way to connect with a shared past, a collective memory that feels universally understood and safe. It's like returning to a perceived innocence, maybe, a moment to just breathe and remember times that felt perhaps less uncertain, more joyful. It offers a sense of grounding when so much else feels like it's shifting under our feet. It's like a cultural security blanket for a generation navigating a particularly complex adulthood.
Wow. What an incredible journey we've taken today. From, a truly groundbreaking Disney show that launched a global superstar, straight through to being this current social media sensation, driven by this powerful mix of nostalgia, real affection, and just some savvy cultural timing. Hannah Montana's brilliant dual identity idea, combined with that powerful music, the massive merch empire, and Miley Cyrus's own evolving relationship with her past. It really cemented its permanent place in pop culture history, didn't it? It's just absolutely fascinating to see how something from our past can find such vibrant new life, such real relevance today, proving that sometimes maybe the best of both worlds really can exist across different generations.
Definitely. And as you sit with Hannah Montana's enduring appeal, especially that core idea of the best of both worlds, maybe consider this thought. If this concept, the secret life, hidden talents, the blurred lines between who we are and who we present ourselves to be, if that still resonates so deeply, what does that tell us about our ongoing fascination with identity, especially in the digital age? I mean, aren't we all, in a way, living some version of a dual identity online, carefully curating our public face on LinkedIn or Instagram, while maybe nurturing a more private self, or even a Finsta just for close friends? It's a question worth pondering, I think, as we all navigate our own best of both worlds pretty much every single day.
Absolutely. Definitely something to mull on long after this deep dive ends. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Deep Dive. Next time on Trending Unpacked, we unpack the viral glow-up of Pamela Anderson and how she's redefining herself in 2025.